The universe is made of stories, not of atoms. That was said by American poet Muriel Rukeyser. See, we can awaken human strengths such as courage and compassion and hope when we see ourselves in other people's stories. A few years ago, I traveled to northern Thailand with a humanitarian organization whose purpose was to deliver educational supplies to a hill tribe village. Hill tribe is the term to refer to ethnic minorities who live in the remote highlands. Hill tribe people have their own really unique culture and language for each of the various tribes. And as an economic activity, they are primarily farmers and handcrafts people. And they are involved in rice production and handcraft production. They are among the most disadvantaged groups in Thailand. Our mid-morning journey was on a road up a steep mountain, narrow and winding road up a steep mountain. And at one point, our Thai driver signaled that he'd made a wrong turn. So I looked out his driver's side window and I saw thick green foliage. And as I looked outside my window, I saw a sudden drop off the mountainside. Needless to say, as my breathing got faster and images of the worst case scenario are running through my mind, this was absolutely a really difficult U-turn. So we finally arrived at the village, and I exited the van and I, greeted the other volunteers that were there, who were in another van, by the way, and had arrived earlier, and said, we're here, we're finally here. But I actually exited and saw a rustic schoolyard with about 30 primary school children lined up from shortest to tallest. And they were actually singing a welcome song that's reserved for important visitors. So as their sweet voices and graceful dance moves helped to calm me, have me take a deep breath and bring me at ease, and to come right there into the moment. So we had arrived in time to help serve lunch. And okay, there we go. So as we were serving lunch, we were serving the children noodles and a seasoned broth. And we were trying to make sure that we had enough for all the children. And then we joined them as a gesture of respect. Similar to other Southeast Asian cultures, Hill Tribe people will share with their guests anything that they might have. The hospitality and generosity is embedded in the culture. So after lunch, we went on to bring the children back to the schoolyard, as you can see. And we were going to hand out their school supplies. But one of the Thai volunteers had to teach the children how to wear a backpack. Now, that's something we in America take kind of for granted, but for them, this was a new adventure. So we handed out the school supplies, and each child, got their little basic supplies in there, and they were really so thrilled to have these backpacks. And so as the school day ended, you can only imagine the amount of noise and chatter and activity amongst the children as they were going on their way home, because they lived, within walking distance from the school and with their new backpack. So by now, all of our volunteers are fairly scattered throughout the yard. And I see their teacher, the children's teacher, walking across the yard, and she extends her hand with a smile. And she spoke very little English, and needless to say, I spoke very little Thai. But holding hands, we walked back to the schoolhouse. This is the wireless current of positive life energy that flows between us. You know, we can build walls that are full of negative emotion and ignorance and lack of interest, or we can create networks that are made of compassion and hope. Now, in one psychology study, it was found that when we experience mild positive emotion, we are more likely to help other people, think more flexibly, and find solutions to our problems. Moreover, another study found that joy actually expands creative thinking. So if we actually allow ourselves to connect with other people, we find that it's disappointment and pain, as well as joy and gratitude, that connect us, because it's the common threads of human experience that we're drawn to. So, we are actually psychologically hardwired to connect the story. We have love stories, we have tragedy, we have hero stories. If any of you are a Star Wars fan, that's the whole premise of it. And we also have tragedy. And again, if we are allowing ourselves to connect the stories, you find out that we're all going through the cycle of human experience. Now, one of my favorite people to listen to is Kendrick Lamar, the rapper. And what I find out is that actually our literary, visual, and performing artists rely on us and our human need for story. And literary giant, of course, whose name I just forgot, but who made the statement that actually any important story needs to be told each generation. So the bottom line is, if we're listening to each other's stories and telling our stories, we are actually helping to create the fabric in our society of caring. So actually, a few years ago, I created an exercise where I have my students actually try to practice human strengths in their daily activities. And I actually want to share it with you. Here's how it goes. We can become unhinged by our fears and our doubts. And we actually need anchors and points of reference to help us be oriented and stay grounded. So this is called Anchors of Integrity, and here's how it works. I want each of you to adopt a word or words as an anchor of integrity. And when you hear me say these words, I want you to mentally grab a word, okay? Mentally grab a word. So this is the part where I need your participation. So here are the words: compassion, love, courage, humor, gratitude, creativity, justice, humility, forgiveness, spirituality, hope, wisdom, persistence. Now, this is the call and response part. I would like for you to shout out a word that you've adopted as an anchor of integrity.
Creativity.
Keep going. There's got to be more people than that. And this is how it works. How will you need to change the way you go about your life to live in this anchor of integrity? What story will you tell, and what story will you share? So, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that recognizing the equal rights and dignity of all members of the human race is the foundation for freedom, justice, and peace in the world. So when we tell our stories and listen to other people's stories with an open mind and an open heart, we are actually helping to advance freedom, justice, and peace in the world. So, I would like for you to use your anchors of integrity to create and share compelling stories. My anchors of integrity are grace and love, and I thank you for listening.